Why are we here? This is our second video in the series on Gnosticism for today. And I want to give you the big picture as revealed in Gnostic stories. And I want to set the mood by reading you something from the Excerpta de Theodoto. It's a Gnostic document. What makes us free is the gnosis of who we were, of what we have become, of where we were, of wherein we have been cast, of where to we are hastening, of what we are being freed of what birth really is, of what rebirth really is. There's this feeling in a lot of the Gnostic stories of being a stranger, an alien, an outsider, a sense that the people in the stories and we reading them don't quite belong here, don't quite fit here. There's something strange about us. And the more Gnosticism you read, a lot of us, the more you get the feeling, and this is in the stories themselves, that it's not really an individual problem. It's that there's something wrong with the world. So why is that? So in the beginning, this is a version that's boiled down from many different versions. There's a lot of Gnostic creation tales, but they have lots of things in common. So I'm going to stick to most of those. In the beginning is source, or mystery, or God, choose whatever word you want. The ultimate non-gendered being, above all concepts, above all ideas, above all images. And this being grows other beings. It's a bit that the Gnostics use several images from this. We might call them emanations. We might call them the way small creeks branch out from rivers. That's a Gnostic image. But in any case, this God being, this ultimate God being, kind of grows, emanates, secretes other beings who are divine powers. So these powers go by different names, one of which is aeons. And this word became, in English, eon, which refers to long stretches of time. In Gnosticism, aeon can be both a realm of being and also a God who inhabits that realm of being, a divine power. So if you ever read my fiction, my Lamplighter trilogy, The Powers, there they are. So there's different numbers of powers in different Gnostic systems. The Valentinians, who I'll talk about in a later video, like the number 30. And so these powers all have archetypal names like insight and forethought and faith and things like that. And so the powers live in the Gnostic version of heaven, which is called the pleroma, which literally means wholeness or fullness. So the original state, once source begins to emanate reality, the higher reality, the original state is wholeness. And the 30th aeon in Valentinian Gnosticism, different numbers in different systems, but the 30th aeon in that system is Sophia, so whose name means wisdom. She's a Gnostic goddess. And everything gets moving when Sophia looks down into the vapors that precede the creation of the world, and she sees light. And God is kind of separate from the other aeons in these stories, kind of withdrawn. I might go into why later. But Sophia longs for God. She longs for the light. And she doesn't realize that in looking down in the waters, she's seeing her own reflection. So when she moves down toward the waters, and again, there's different versions about how this happens, she creates a shadow who becomes a being who works as a lower god. And he's called different names that are kind of complicated. Yaldabaoth is one, Sakalas, other ones, names that mean things like blind god and fool. And so a lower inferior god is Sophia's shadow. And it's this god, this demiurge, to use Plato's term, who creates the world and creates the physical forms of human beings. And so in this schema, in this cosmos, there are different levels. The pleroma is the level of fullness. We live in the kenoma, which translates roughly as emptiness. And that's where the archons rule. And so the archons include this demiurge god, this inferior god, and then he creates others like himself. He's a male figure. And so archon literally means rulers. And so now we have a world where the aeons are high above as these celestial figures of light, and archons rule the lower world. So if you were to transport a Gnostic into our time and educate the Gnostic about those corporations that are huge and malignant, or corrupt governments, or massive armies, or huge banks that are corrupt, things like that, a Gnostic would immediately understand those as manifestations of the archons, the authorities of darkness is another term for them. And what they're trying to do is keep us all asleep, because we all have a spark of Sophia. We all have a spark of divine light. So another way of saying this is that these big powers work really hard to distract us. That actually comes up in the Gnostic stories. And to keep us off balance and unaware that we each have a spark of spirit. Because if we discover that, then everything begins to change. So more in the next video.